Donny Cates and Ryan Ottley unleash Hulk's true power as President Ross of Earth 122 unleashes the full power of his gamma-irradiated army onto the hero in a bid to finally control the Rage Monster. Donny Cates finishes up his opening Smastronaut storyline with these two action-packed issues that dive a little more into what Bruce is doing to Hulk. I like the idea Donny is putting forward here about how Bruce is pretty much doing what was done to him as a child to Hulk, sealing him away, abusing him, and in turn that causes Hulk to develop his own Hulk to deal with the bottled up rage. It's an interesting idea that adds something new to the Hulk's lore without overriding all of the amazing stuff Al Ewing and past writers have done with the character. Cates also does something really cool with the quote-unquote Betty Ross we've been seeing, revealing it to be Titan, another Hulk form which we see briefly here, and it looks a hell of a lot like Doomsday. I like the idea of Bruce having to fight the other aspects of Hulk for the driver's seat of the Starship Hulk, such as having to fight Betty, and I like that Betty is actually kind of sticking around, it seems, and I'm looking forward to their kind of back and forth banter as sort of these angels and demons on the shoulders of the Hulk. Ryan Ottley continues the book's fantastically violent and action-packed artwork, utilizing the engine room concept of the story to great effect to give us a little bit of classic Hulk fights from throughout the ages, as well as some new ones. On top of that, we get some really cool gamma monsters like the mutant Spider-Man and the weaponized abominations of Earth 122, all captured in fantastically bright and visceral colors. Hulk issues 5 and 6 were both fantastic installments and a great finale for the Smastronaut storyline, adding some cool new aspects to the Hulk's character that help put Donny Cates' mark on the character while also respecting everything that came before, particularly the previous Ewing run on the book. I'm going to give these issues a 9 out of 10. Hulk issues 5 and 6 finds the alternate Bruce Banner being beaten by President Ross as he remembers how he wanted to be so much more, wanting to discover and invent and create. But on this world, and it seems like every other world that has a Bruce Banner, the story always ends the same, and he becomes Death, the destroyer of worlds. Ross wants to start over, knowing that Bruce's pet Hulk outside just cost him and the country a lot of money, while it fights his 80 tons of very pissed off mutant spider. He demands Banner tell him how he found the Hulk and how he is controlling it and how the army can kill it. Bruce bursts out laughing, causing Ross to beat him down, smashing his glasses against his face as he screams at the man, demanding he tell him what the thing is. Bruce says that it's him when he's angry as outside, the Hulk battles the mutant Spider-Man as Bruce finds the engine is at stage 4. He begins to move it to stage 5 as the visage of Betty Ross appears before him, wondering if he's going to kill the mutant spider, knowing that he's just a child and can't help what he is. Bruce demands to know why this is also important to her, but Betty tells him that she doesn't exist, but he knows what happens when a child is locked away and abused and has had their freedom taken away. She tells him that all of the fury and rage left to build makes people hurt, something Bruce knows all too well, and if he keeps locking the Hulk away and hurting it and making it angrier, she wonders what it will turn into. Bruce doesn't know, cranking the engines to stage 5 and wanting to find out. On stage 5, Hulk battles Thor and the Norse gods as Bruce targets the mutant Spider-Man, getting Hulk to smash it. The alternate Bruce meanwhile demands Ross stop since he's already told him everything he knows and all of the things they sent through the portal. He knows they have to go somewhere and they can't just be gone for good. Bruce knows that he thought that he could find a Hulk and cure it, but this Hulk is different and Ross is going to make it all worse. Ross tells him to shut up, telling his men to leave so he can have some alone time with Bruce, knowing that Banner won't hurt a fly, so he'll be fine. Peter meanwhile transforms back into his human form, pleading with Hulk to stop as he spots bombers above. The bombers soon drop their giant payloads, blowing up the entire area as Bruce loses all visuals, finding the hull has been compromised and his computers are recommending a full evac. Bruce knows that's not possible, but Betty tells him that he worries too much as Ross tells the old Bruce that he appreciates he tried to solve their Hulk problem, but the truth is he doesn't want him to solve that problem, since since they have become very handy. Ross reveals that the weak monsters are all thrown into the portal while he keeps the strong ones, and with the help of Reed Richards, he's managed to leash them and made them more cooperative. Bruce knows that he's sick, but Ross sees himself more as a patriot, wondering if Bruce ever wondered why they won all those wars. Bruce meanwhile asks for Betty's help, knowing that he needs to be in control to fight back. Betty knows that he's trapped at the mercy of forces and violence, asking if it reminds him of someone. Bruce asks what she's doing as Betty grabs the engine controls, reminding Bruce that Betty isn't real. She cranks the engines up to level 6, sending Mephisto, Dormammu and various other demons after Hulk, burning him in the engine room. Ross meanwhile reveals that he has deployed his monsters, as out of the bombs that he dropped on the battlefield come giant gamma-powered monsters. Bruce knows that he can't just use them like that, and they aren't people, but Ross doesn't see them like that, calling them all abominations. Hulk in the engine room begins being overwhelmed as Betty tells Bruce that everything he's built is spectacular, and she doesn't tell him this enough, but she is proud of her son. Bruce realizes who she's talking to as the vision of Betty throws him into the void, taking control of Hulk and setting the engine to level 9 as Hulk unleashes heat vision onto the abominations, blowing them all apart. As the Hulk battles Kree soldiers in the engine room, Betty voices her theories about the Hulk, knowing everyone says the Hulk is Bruce's ID and the embodiment of his rage, but everyone has heard that before 1,000,000 times over. She knows there are deeper theories, but something about it never felt complete and it just seemed like wasted potential. She wants to show him the right way as a Hulk Galactus, the Thanos Phoenix, the Inhumans and the Living Tribunal all are brought in to face the Hulk in the engine room. Betty says that what Bruce did to the Hulk by caging him and abusing him is inhumane, and she knows that stage 10 is purely hypothetical, while stage 9 is all the universal constants. Hulk easily takes all of them down, as Betty knows that over the years there have been many Hulks, from grey ones to red ones to blue ones, and everyone seems to get a Hulk these days, knowing that Bruce has one, Jennifer has one, Amadeus has one, and even God has a Hulk. So why can't the Hulk have a Hulk? Hulk meanwhile begins to transform into a giant black and red monster that begins spewing energy over the abominations. Bruce meanwhile continues falling through the void, continuing his calming mantra and telling himself that the waves don't crash over him, they break on him. Hulk begins sucking up the abominations as the engine room Hulk pleads for Banner to stop and help him. Ross meanwhile is alerted to what his men call the Titan. He tells his men that they are going to bring that beast down, ordering more bombers into the area with a gamma bomb as Bruce tries to stop him, knowing it's insane to drop one of the G-bombs out there since there are 3 major cities within the blast radius. Ross grabs his gun, demanding Banner sit back down, as Banner knows he'll kill thousands, but Ross knows that they did this together. The soldiers radio Ross, telling him the bomber is 10 minutes away, as Ross orders his comms team on the line so he can come up with a story to cover all of this up. Bruce tackles Ross down as Betty watches Hulk being beaten in the engine room. Banner claws his way out of the void, telling her to shut it down, as the decaying Betty wonders what he will do if she doesn't, thinking maybe he'll just get angry. Betty morphs into a giant monster, telling Bruce that he has no control, and Bruce is well aware, smashing glass and pulling a lever behind it, knowing that he has the power instead. The engine doors open, freeing Hulk, who smashes his way through the control center. Old Banner meanwhile grabs Ross's gun, tired of talking this out. Bruce meanwhile tells Betty that this is all over and she can't control him now, as Ross knows that alternate Bruce isn't a killer and he doesn't have to do this, as Hulk attacks Betty, causing the Titan to explode with power, as alternate Bruce tells Ross that he has no idea what he's capable of, firing the gun and killing Ross. Hulk meanwhile turns back into Bruce, knowing that he finally did it, as he realizes he's actually in the engine room. The Hulk appears, welcoming him home as the gamma bomb is dropped onto the battlefield. Bruce races out of the engine room, calling for the repair sequence to be activated as he begins to rearmor the Hulk out in the real world. Alternate Banner contacts Bruce, not knowing if he can hear him or not, but he warns him of the bomb being dropped and how the fallout will kill thousands, and while he can't stop it, he has access to the systems in his lab, so if Hulk can get there, they can work together to minimize the destruction. Banner races to the entrance of the engine room as alternate Banner tells Hulk to run. Banner tells the computer to close the engine room blast door as Hulk confronts him, telling him that he is sorry, as the blast doors seal him in again. Bruce gets to the control controls of the Hulk, asking his alternate self what he can do, as the alt Bruce tells him that he will need to overload the energy signature to the portal that brought him to this Earth, and will need to open it as wide as he can, since the portal is rigged to receive gamma signatures, so when the bomb detonates, all of the fallout will be absorbed into it. The bomb goes off and the portal begins absorbing all of the gamma radiation as the alternate Bruce thanks his friend, apologizing it had to end this way, but Bruce knows that it was always going to end up blowing up in his face. He begins ramping up the engines as he is pulled into the portal and back between realities. Alternate Bruce doesn't know where this will send him, but wherever he goes, he needs to remind himself that Hulk is not a weapon, and to use the miracle for good and to bring peace. Bruce pilots the Hulk between the realities as the computer alerts him to incoming fire. Bruce wonders what the hell that could even be as Bruce spots the fractured Mjolnir coming right for him.